This is the post-purchase podcast, Sean. Super excited to be here today with a serial entrepreneur, somebody who has a lot of experience in the space and is doing something completely different than any other service out there to help Amazon sellers grow. Super excited today, Sean.
Yes, so let's bring in Mr. Don Henig himself. Seth, you want to introduce Don while I get all the gadgets going?
I do. So Don has been around the game for a long time, built a bunch of different businesses. Like I said, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's bringing something brand new to the Amazon space, which we're going to talk about today. And he's also the founder of AccrueMe. These guys are serious about their business. They're serious about growth, and they're serious about helping Amazon sellers grow as well. So Don, say hello.
Hey, Seth. Hey, Sean. And happy birthday, Seth.
Hey, thank you, Don. You're only one day late, but we will share some ice cream cake together.
All right.
Don, so we love to kick these things off and dig into a little bit about, who you are and how you got to where you are today, because I know what you're doing now is totally different than where your career began. So why don't we start at the beginning and work us to current, would you?
Yeah, sure. But, we could spend like 3 hours on this part. So I'm going to have to fly through it.
Give us the abbreviated version.
You guys, when Yoni interviewed me early on and he started asking questions about, where'd you grow up and this and that. And then, I told him about different jobs I had. One was cleaning toilets in restaurants. And he said, "You clean toilets?" I said, "Yeah, I did it overnight because I worked during the day. I went to school during the day, I worked then. And then I had another job overnight cleaning toilets and washing floors." What the hell? You do whatever you have to do.
But I love it.
We won't start there. So basically in my career, I'm a finance guy. So I started a financial planning company and built that. I learned about mortgages, never knew anything about it. So I started a mortgage company, built that. 10 years later, I sold that as one of the largest mortgage companies in New York State. The reason I sold is I started another company, a mortgage broker franchise. It's an industry that was never done before, created it, sold that business in 18 months. Took some time off. Like, what are you going to do? Had some money in the bank and I looked around like, what do I enjoy? I love being on the fields with the kids. I had young kids at the time. So, I started a soccer newspaper. There was no digital at the time. So full newspaper, 32 pages.
Wow.
I was the only person. I did everything from getting pictures, having people send me pictures, writing articles, having people send me articles, put the whole thing together with a designer, get to a printer. Over 6 months, I built it to 167,000 copies per month. We were the official newspaper for New York State soccer, and I sold that. Just kept going and got into technology and built some technology firms, back into mortgage, built the 6th largest mortgage company in the country, built the 5th largest direct-to-consumer lender in the country as well, doing, over just my groups, over $75 billion a year in mortgages, so you can imagine how big that was. Built another mortgage company, got into the entertainment business. I started a company from scratch, knew nothing, but, a friend of mine was a producer and he needed a little help. So I put money in an account and we started a business. And we ended up doing 8 feature-length films with the biggest name stars, Tom Cruise, Natalie Portman, Mark Ruffalo, on and on and on. And we created and produced the Broadway show Rock of Ages, which ended up as the 30th longest running play of all time.
No kidding.
There's one thing I'll tell you about the entertainment industry. There are no parties in the world compared to the entertainment industry.
not even data dive parties?
Not even that. None. None. It's just unbelievable how much fun that industry is. And we put on a lot of the parties ourselves because it was a lot of fun. Anyway.
So finally, then, after 2,000 years, you finally discovered a fair finance model for Amazon business owners, right?
That's exactly right. After buying and selling 300 houses in 18 months and taking 5 years off, I thought I was done. I thought I, was completely retired after 5 years. And then I learned about Amazon sellers, and not for anything, the 2 things I love to do and did all through, the time that I took off is help people grow businesses and help mentor younger people. If I can help somebody, I always do it. It's just who I am. So I just saw this. I'll tell you, when I learned about Amazon sellers, that there were 2 million of them at the time, I went to bed that night and I had a dream. You know how when you're younger, you have these dreams of, being a baseball star or a football star or whatever it's going to be. Well, I went to bed that night and I had a dream standing on stage, talking to thousands of people and helping them grow their businesses. I couldn't see the faces or anything like that. I don't know what I said. All I know is that, man, this is what I want to do. I want to help these people. But how do you do it? So myself and my partner, we looked at all the options for sellers to grow their business from a finance standpoint, and we didn't like what we saw. So we created something that's never been done. So if you think about it, lending's been around for 2,000 years. It was done wrong. It was done wrong. But nobody decided to ever look at it with a fresh set of eyes and do it right. So it's always been set up in one way, that the lender is the one that's completely protected, and you, the borrower, are totally screwed. End of story. That's the way it works. That's
so Don, you're saying that lending is the second oldest profession in the world?
Well, they had to borrow money to go to the first.
I got it. Okay. All right, that
Good
makes
point.
sense. So
But
you know what? One of the things that I love about you, Don, I've interacted with you since we first met at Prosper, I think in March,
Yeah.
and we've done several events together, both speaking and attending. And
Yep.
you're just a ball of energy, man. Obviously in great shape, right? I mean, you can probably how much can you bench press now?
A couple of years. I don't really go for numbers anymore, but 2 years ago,
I told you, Seth.
I'm 63 now, and
I'm
2
with
years ago, I decided to push it on the bench press, and I got up to 300 pounds.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And I only weigh 170, so that was a good number.
Fair enough.
That
But
is a good number.
that's the whole dynamite and small packages thing, because Don, you are a ball of energy. You're on fire for the business. You're making waves in our industry. I mean, everybody's talking about AccrueMe as what you would say the new model in finance that blows away everything before it. So why, Don? Why are people skeptical? Because your mafia offer sounds too good to be true. So let's dig in and answer that question, if you would.
You know what? That is the biggest objection that we get, is it sounds too good to be true, because nobody's expecting something fair in finance. They're just not. You know that, all right, well, if it sounds fair, I'm going to read the fine print here because there's going to be a catch here. What's the catch? Here's what we did. As simple as this is, and it makes sense, but we're taking the risk. So we reverse the risk. All right. So we'll give you the money to grow. We won't charge any interest. We won't charge any fees. No need. We won't have a term. Use the money as long as you want or as short as you want. Why should you have to decide on how long you need the money for up front? Doesn't make sense. And then the best part is we don't require monthly payments, which I know that sounds crazy, doesn't make sense. It does make sense. And let me explain. What we do is we earn a small percentage of profits, and I'll explain that in a second. And we set it up so that the seller cannot lose with the way that we set this up. All right. You don't get that in finance. And now what are we doing? We're gambling that our sellers are going to do well, that if they're not taking money out of their business every month, they'll be able to grow faster. Let me ask you guys, you think about it. If a company is earning a net profit of $10,000 a month, and every month they take $10,000 out to, go to dinner, buy a new car, go on vacation, whatever it is, they're earning a net profit of $10,000, and they take that full profit out every month. In a year, will that company be larger or smaller or the same size?
Well, Don, I think it'll be Amazon business, and Sean and I talk about this all the time. An Amazon business needs capital, and
Right.
it's a capital intensive business. And for a lot of Amazon entrepreneurs that are building brands, our audience here, and you hit the nail on your head with your example, it is that if I take the money out that I need to live on, then where am I going to grow? I can't grow because I need inventory. So, Don, I love what you guys are doing, because as Sean and I were growing our business, it seemed like our monthly sales were about equal. And this happened as we grew for the last almost decade now. Our monthly sales were almost equal to the total amount of inventory that we owned. So how much inventory can we own? And that's going to tell you about what your monthly sales are. Rule of thumb. And so what you're saying is I'm going to remove one of the biggest hurdles for an Amazon entrepreneur or for somebody building a brand from the business, which is capital constraints. I'd love to hear you talk about how you dream this up and then what you're seeing as far as results from your Amazon sellers that you guys are serving.
You got it. I just want to finish this point though. If you're taking money out of your business every month, you're not going to grow. So
Right.
It makes no sense to do that. We all would agree. But then the second question on that, well, why would you take money out of your business and send it to a lender? Because it was set up 2,000 years ago improperly. That doesn't make sense. Going into Q4, why would anybody take money out of their business when they could put it into inventory and grow their business and make a shitload of money in Q4? Why would you do it? It makes no sense. So we're here to support the seller to do that. So, again, let me tell you about the profit share, because everybody's got to, be asking, how does that work? At a high level, this is the way the math works. You keep 100% of the profit on your money, on your capital, plus you get half of the profit on our money. What a lot of people have been calling this is the rich uncle program. Because if you went to your rich uncle, I need $100,000 to grow my business, but I don't want to give you any equity in my business. I don't want to pay any interest because you're family and no fees, obviously. And the term is just stupid. I don't want anything to do with that. Oh, and we don't want to make any monthly payments. We'll pay you when we're flush with cash. Good luck with that rich uncle, but that's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. And you don't have to sit down with us at dinner and have an uncomfortable conversation. So let me give you a quick example. I'm going to give you a quick example of somebody. And I just love this guy. He's 22. He's actually just turned 23 and came to us last December. Now, this we do wholesale, private label, and retail arbitrage. This guy's wholesale. And you all know how wholesale works. If you got money today, you could deploy it, tomorrow pretty much. And that's what he did. So he came to us in December. His net profit was $1,500. In January, we gave him $25,000. Then we gave him more in February, more in March, I think more in April. By May, remember, in December, pretty good month for most people, his net profit was $1,500. By May, his net profit was $44,000. By July, $56,000. And I asked him, what are you doing? He goes, I'm doing exactly what you told me to do. I'm focusing on my business. I gave up my apartment. I gave up the fancy car. I have a van now. My girlfriend and I live in our warehouse, and we're just focused on growing this business like nothing else matters. And that's what we're doing. And I bet you a year from him earning $1,500 in that month, he's going to earn somewhere between $70,000 to $100,000 in net profit in December.
Wow.
That's right. It's a wow. And he's 23 years old now, but how
you gave him the tools for that growth though? Like you said,
couldn't have done it any other way. Couldn't have done it any way. And he knows that, there's no way. And we have so many of those stories. We have retail arbitrage stories like crazy. Some of these guys, it's almost a similar number. He came to us with $2,500 in profit. And just a little over a year later, his net profit per month was over 40,000. He hit 44, went down to 39, 43, all that. Now he's in the 50s. And he just expanded into wholesale earlier this year. And now he's going to be expanding into private label by the end of this year. Right. So his business is just going like this.
Don, let me unpack that just for a minute. I don't think people understand how impactful this is. So you took this kid, we'll call him, from $2,500 a month in net profit to almost $50,000 per month in 1 year. Now, without that influx of extra capital, how long would it have typically taken that person, that entrepreneur, to grow to that level, Don?
He a lifetime. He started at 1,500. Let's say he was blowing it out on his own and was going to grow to, 30% a year. Where would he have been? $4,000 a month, maybe at most by the end of the year. It just wouldn't have happened. You'd get frustrated. But if you can take somebody from earning $1,500 to $20,000 in 2 or 3 months, it's life-changing. And certainly you can imagine, the incentive and the feeling that you have, you want to just keep going. And
absolutely,
that's what he's doing.
Let me ask you, Uncle Don, a question. When you were 11 years old, hustling newspapers on Long Island, although you were the best newspaper hustler,
That's
what
right.
would you have done differently? I know you went and had your first bank loan at age 12. Yes, age 12, Seth. If you had an Uncle Don back in your newspaper hustling days, how would your life have been different?
I would have gotten a better bicycle to go out. I would have been hiring people to work for me as opposed to me doing all the work. But no, that was a fun time. And, it's in your skin, same as you guys. I get a job at 11 to, be a paper delivery boy. And that's what you did. And that was the end of it. But I took it to another extent where I went door to door and came up with a marketing slogan on how to sell this newspaper that they never created. And I became number one on all of Long Island, which is millions of people,
Wow.
And yeah, exactly. Crazy. And yeah, you're right. I did go out and borrow my first loan from a bank at 12. And my father thought I was crazy. And, it worked out pretty good.
Right.
He definitely was right. but not necessarily about that.
So Don, now that you've been in the Amazon world a little bit, Amazon is full of these first-time entrepreneurs, and it's amazing culture. Everybody's so willing to help, but they're not really accustomed to like the traditional finance world, like where you came from. So raising money for you is second nature, but for somebody else, like the 22-year-old that you helped grow from $1,500 per month in profit to 50,000 plus, like without that capital raise, it's almost impossible to grow like that. But when you look at these first-time entrepreneurs, they don't think like that. They think the stock market is just, some tickers on a screen that move around. They don't really understand that it was used to raise money to then grow. But that's what you're doing. You're basically offering growth capital for these first-time entrepreneurs. So what does that look like typically for you, Don? Who are you helping? What are they using what are they using the money for? And then where are you seeing them make some mistakes when they get the money, if they do at all? What are you seeing over there?
We're not seeing a hell of a lot of mistakes, although we see some. They're using the money for inventory, 99%. They're using it for inventory and some PPC. Some of the mistakes we're seeing is they're overspending on PPC. And, I know they get coached on that, to do that by many of the gurus in the industry, which is fine. But a lot of them take it to a new level, that they shouldn't. There's got to be a happy medium in there somewhere of the proper amount of PPC. Get your rankings up. They don't have to go up like this. They can go up a little slowly. You always want to have profit. If you're building a business and you don't have profit, it's useless. Come to me and tell me that your revenue this month was $200,000 or $1 million. That's great. It means nothing. What did you actually earn? What did you keep? That's all that matters. So,
first, as Seth would say,
it's the truth. It is the truth. You have that you have to pay yourself first. So in business, and you guys just nailed on it, Sean. One thing that young people in the industry or new people to entrepreneurship need to learn is that you pay yourself first. So you're bringing in income. Let's say your net profit is $10,000. You can easily take all $10,000 and put it back into your business. And you can do that forever. And good for you, but you're never going to have much of a life. Take something out that you're going to consider a salary. Maybe it's $2,000. And you're going to put that into a separate account. And you're never going to touch that until you're going to go on vacation. As my wife would call it, health insurance is what vacations are. Yeah,
that's good. I love that analogy. Right? I agree.
For entrepreneurs,
minimum.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. But yeah,
and we can always use a bigger boat, right, Uncle Don?
That never ends. That never ends. I'll tell you that.
Never ends.
No,
Seth,
never ends.
We're coming up to the end of this. Don, we're going to have you back on. Obviously, you're going to be a part of one of our upcoming webinars where you'll have an entire 30 to 45 minutes. We're gonna blast this episode out to our audience, so they're gonna get a little a sense of Don from House Henig. And when you come in and start talking about finance and do a deep dive and some case studies, it's going to blow their minds. But Seth, you know what time it is.
Yeah, Don, we like to ask a couple fun questions at the end of every one of our shows. The very first question: you've been around, you've built so many businesses, you've been an entrepreneur almost since you were born. But have you ever read a book that stuck with you? So basically the question is, Don, what's your favorite business book or books?
Well, it's interesting because, in this industry, I'm clearly older than most people in this industry. And I find that everybody's reading certain books, and they're self-help books. And I read those books, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they might be a different title, but it's the same books and it's the same, insights, which is fantastic. But I'll give you one that I think is a game changer for anyone, not just in business, but in life in general, called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy is great. He was the owner of Success Magazine. Really, really tremendous speaker and writer and the whole bit. But the compound effect. And if you just think about it with anything you're doing, whether it be losing weight, working out, building a business, doing positive things, little positive things consistently, always doing them, you're gonna gradually go up like this and then just take off to the moon. You can't help it.
And this is exactly why you love your morning routine, right?
I love my morning routine.
Building blocks. I just recently read Joe Polish's new book, The Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've read it. But yeah, start your day off with making your bed. And I thought, man, my grandmother told me that, 40 years ago. So
The Miracle Morning is a great book.
It is. So, and Seth, it is not an audio, so you're on the outside looking in. So we have something special you put together for listeners of the Post-Purchase Podcast, where we can join. If you're listening or watching this recording or watching it live on social media, you can join AccrueMe for 30 days, absolutely free. And Uncle Don will even buy you a $500 ice cream cone for joining, and that $500 never has to be repaid. Don, can you unpack that a little bit?
Sure. So when you join with us, we're not going to take any profits for the first 30 days. We don't need to. We want you to have a head start, jump ahead. And then on top of that, if you come through, as we call them, PPP or Post-Purchase Pro, you'll get an extra $500 that'll be just free. You can do whatever you want. We hope you'll use it for inventory. You don't owe it to us, so don't ever worry about it.
Or put it in the vacation fund. Is that okay?
That's okay too. That's okay too. But let's grow the business first.
So how do we do that? If we want to join, we're going to go to AccrueMe.com, or you can send an email to team@AccrueMe.com, and you can get started, get that free $500 gift that you never have to repay. This is like one of these too good to be true COVID relief funds, right? This is straight from Uncle Don's pocket into your pocket, $500.
There you go.
And you can try AccrueMe free for 30 days. Don, last question. We often talk about money. We're entrepreneurs. We enjoy to create value in the world and get paid for it, right? So last fun question before we call it a day. What is something that Don has purchased in the last 12 months that will be considered a splurge, but you don't regret it?
Oh man, I wish you gave me some time to think about this one. A splurge, huh? Well, in the last 12 months, okay, we bought a little tender for the back of our boat to tool around on a river. We live on the on Long Island, so we're in the ocean and salt water all the time. But we keep the boat on a river, and we have so much fun with it. We go down to the beach with it, with the big boat, and then the little boat, we go clamming, and we just have tons of fun with it. My wife, my dog, and myself.
So you'll anchor the mothership, and then you'll take the tender out into the shallows and go clamming and shelling and that type of thing.
It's just fun, man. It's fun.
Like sandbar hopping. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun.
Well, Don, I'm sure you have Sean a little jealous. Sean, you're boatless right now for the first time in what, a decade?
I'm boatless. Yep, for the first time in a decade. But it's all right. I'll be on a boat in 1 week in the Keys. Yeah, I can still rent. Even though I live in the middle of the cornfields now in Indiana temporarily. Hopefully I can go buy my old home in Tampa back for half price. It's getting beat up by Hurricane Ian right now.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
Don, it's an inside joke. Sean's been, dying to get back on a boat, and he can't find the right one.
Oh, we started doing podcast on my boat. Like I have an office in the boat, so it's
that's great.
I'm sure you can relate, Don. A bad day on a boat's better than any good day in the office, right?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
All right, take us out of here.
All right,
hey, Seth, before we cut off, real quick, if anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's my full name, Donald Henig. And I'm one of those guys that communicates. So don't hesitate reaching out, ask questions, feel free. but I love to communicate with people. So
Let me see.
Come
Did I
on.
get that right on the fly?
you did, man. You are good.
All right. That
Donald
was
Henig.
on the fly. All right. So join at AccrueMe.com. Get the first 30 days free and a free $500 from Uncle Don. You can email team@AccrueMe.com or just look Don up at Donald Henig on LinkedIn. He'll actually reach out to you. I've shaken his hand several times. He's a good guy. He'll talk to you. And, that's all I have to say about that, Seth.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, amazing. Hey, I'm really glad to have you now as my Uncle Don. Really excited to have everybody reach out to you guys and grow, because everybody in this space definitely needs capital for inventory. So, Don, thanks so much for coming on. This has
My
been
pleasure,
an
Seth.
episode of the Post-Purchase Podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.